Just a quick disclaimer. This episode and the next episode that will be released on New Year's Eve have been previously recorded a month or two ago. Carly and I had just became bogged down with other work that we couldn't find the time to edit and release these as intended. This particular episode was supposed to be released for Halloween. So you'll notice at the beginning of the episode, we're discussing Halloween. Besides that, though, it's a great episode and it's a movie that we both really enjoy and love. And we hope you guys enjoy listening to us talk about it.
There's a speed limit in this state, Mr. Neff. 45 miles an hour.
How fast was I going, officer?
I'd say around 90.
But what about us?
Memories. You're talking about memories.
Good, I'll have a drink.
I don't want anything of his or any part of it.
Except his life.
I wonder if I know what you mean.
I wonder if you wonder.
Played it for her, you play it for me. I lived a few weeks while she loved me. Waiting for a lady. Someday you'll understand that.
Got some news that's gonna take a lot of tension off you and Laura.
Stop it, Dix! I can't take any more of this!
I should be in the phone.
You know the story?
What story?
Maybe because he was drunk.
Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life.
Well, I'll give her the message.
But they're asleep all over America.
Welcome to the Speakeasy Noir Cast, a podcast discussing film noirs of yesterday and neo-noirs of today. Each week, we will deliver a discussion and analysis of classic and neo-noir films, all mixed in with our unintelligible banter. Your hosts for the show, Carly Street and Jason D. Morris.
Well, are you ready for Halloween? You guys doing anything for Halloween?
No, we just lock ourselves in the house. And
Yeah,
paint
you
faces.
don't even pass out candy?
And
Yeah.
no, we don't. We don't open the door to people when it's not Halloween. I'm not doing it on when people are dressed as death.
You guys don't do pumpkin carving, candy? You guys don't dress at nothing? What about Lily?
She does. She's doing pumpkin carving, but she's not really good with stuff like that. She wants to do it, and then like halfway through it, because the eye hasn't gone right, she's just like, "You want to duck because she's going to throw a pumpkin in your face," and then little bits of it afterwards go everywhere.
Yeah. That's my daughter too. Autumn's the same way. She gets her heart set on doing something very specific, and like she doesn't like the cookie cutter stuff. Like she won't do the pre-made designs or any of that kind of stuff. She's got to do her own thing. So like this year she was trying to do a character from Nightmare Before Christmas, which I thought turned out all right. It was
I saw your
good.
video. They look really good.
Yeah, she was just really angry. It didn't turn out exactly the way she wasn't really angry. She was just like, indifferent about it, I guess. And then her pumpkin, for some reason, it rotted like after 2 days. It's completely like it's mush right now on the porch. Oh. And I never had a pumpkin that like died that quickly. It was crazy. Like these are from like an actual pumpkin patch. Like we picked these off the vine.
Oh wow.
Kind of thing. Yeah. And after 2 days it was dead, and there's like tons of mold and stuff inside. It was like, it's really crazy. I haven't seen one like that.
You picked a bad
die
one.
that quickly before. Yeah, we did.
I didn't even pick mine off the shelf. Somebody else did.
Oh, no.
And she wanted to do it. So
They felt sorry for you because you didn't have any Halloween spirit.
listen, I've got a purple wig. I've got a purple wig, and I'm going to do Street's
Then you
face.
must wear it.
I will. And I'm going to do Street's face like the Joker again, because he has a new tattoo.
No.
Yeah.
Come on now. You guys gotta keep it fresh. Can't be the Joker every year.
Why
Let
not?
him
It's the
know
only
that.
face I can do.
Make him the Crow then. It's similar but different.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah. Well, as long as you guys have some kind of fun to celebrate the holiday. I mean, we do make a lot of horror themed stuff within our company, so I'll be disappointed if you don't celebrate Halloween in some fashion. That might mean, Carly's sitting around a circle of pentagrams and casting spells on her enemies, but
I mean, I could totally do that if you need me to for the company. while our films are playing in the background.
We need to cast love spells on everybody in the world that make them love our stuff. That's what we need.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we should probably get into the drink for tonight. You ready for that?
I am.
All right. Me too. This is an interesting one because I don't drink a lot of rum. I don't know if you do, but I like it. I just haven't drank a lot of it, so I'm still exploring my not alcoholic.
No, I think you're
alcohol
right.
taste buds.
Alcoholic taste buds.
I'm still exploring alcoholism. Right. Yeah. So I'm still exploring my taste buds as far as different alcohols. I'm kind of a creature of habit. So every time Shawnee and I have been going to the bar recently, we have a couple that we like to hit up. So Hops Asylum, if you're out there listening, we love you guys. And we go there for beer.
What's
they usually
that
have
called?
all the Hops Asylum.
What a name.
Yeah, right.
That just sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a cool little place. We loved it during like COVID time, like when they were kind of opening things up and you could be outside. It was really great because you could get a table and they would come to your table, take your order just like a regular restaurant, and then bring your beer to you kind of thing. And normal operation for them is you have to go to the bar like most places. And that kind of sucks because when it gets crowded, you know, it's always kind of a difficult situation. You got to like squeeze in between people and say, hey, excuse me, guys, you know, I'm going to order kind of thing.
Or take them from behind and then move the opposite way that they look.
Well, this is not the UK. All right. You guys are pretty rowdy over there as far as bars. Like,
listen, it's
there's
every man for
occasional
himself.
bar fights out here. Right. But so that kind of sucks. But, you know, they're usually busy on like the, you know, staple days like Friday and Saturday. But during the week, we like to go on like, you know, off days because, you know, you can sit at the bar with like not a whole lot of people. But they're great for like local beer and different types of beers. You know, like you and Street probably wouldn't be happy there because they don't serve Budweiser.
Oh.
or Coors Light or anything. But they have some really great stuff and they've got like sour beers and they've got like a bunch of IPAs and
See,
just
Street
different
would
stuff
like that.
Yeah, probably because he might have good taste.
Yeah, probably. I don't. I'll just be
No
pulling my
offense.
face going, well, this is disappointing.
You're like, give me the water that makes you drunk. I'll take that. But they have some really cool like beers that are like in the like 10 to 15% alcohol. So like we just go and we do these tasters. So you get like a flight of beers and like, you know, I think it's like 4 or 6. I can't remember. So you can sample all the different beers for like a couple bucks each, right?
Oh, cool.
But if you get all the ones that are like super high alcohol content, like I do, like you are floored after one flight. Like you're drinking the content of like the volume of like one full beer, but each one of them have like 15% alcohol in it. So it's like you're doing pretty good after one flight.
God,
And then they
what a
also
cheap
have like,
night out.
yeah, it's not bad. It really isn't, but we tip really well, or at least we think we do.
Is that 'cause
we
you
try
don't
to.
take the wallet.
No. It's like, it's just one of those things like, cause we always try to like, especially when we go to like a bar, we try to tip really well. Cause you know, they're just more attentive and they want to help you. Cause I don't want to, you know, they want the tip basically, but it's more than that because because of that, you know, you're not a cheapskate. They get to know you and that kind of thing. And that's really cool. And it just makes for a better experience all over. So we might, if our tab is like $20, we'll also tip $20, you know, kind of thing. We try to tip really well.
Oh, cool. I want to serve you
it's
guys drinks.
Yeah. I mean, I think you would do well. You might drink all of our drinks before it gets to the table.
Listen, I'm
we'd still tip
quality control. You're not having anything that isn't high
you mean
quality.
equality control. 50% for you, 50% for me.
And I'll take that wallet, please.
Right? Yeah, so Hops Asylum is one place that we like to go. There's another place called Wine and Grain, which is where we go for like a wine bar. which is more of like it's okay. I think Shawnee likes it more than I do. It's not a bad place at all. It's just more of a kind of, what do you call it? Posh place?
A posh place.
Yeah, I call it snooty, but whatever. It's just where people are attempting to try to be more formal and more upscale than they really are. Cause I mean, it's just Antioch and Brentwood, people, but it's a little more on the nicer side of things. And that's where we kind of get our wine, from. They also have beer, but they do wine flights as well. And that's kind of what we do. Yeah. So anyways, and then like we have like the dive bar kind of places that we don't really, I don't know. We don't really hit a whole lot of dive bars, honestly. I'm not sure why. There's not a whole lot of good ones around here, I guess. But we'll hit up we have a place called Buffalo Wild Wings, where we don't typically eat the food because it always makes us sick.
It's a good start.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys eat like chicken wings out there.
Yeah, street.
For whatever reason, it's super big out here, for like the sports people and like sports bars and stuff like that. But every time we eat the food, we're just not doing well. But we go there. The beers are pretty inexpensive, and we'll go there if it's a late night because they're open to later than most places. Anyway, enough about me.
It's like the history. What are
the right? Seriously, it could be 2-3 times a week sometimes.
Nice.
Yeah. But so what are the local haunts for you guys?
Well, we can't really drink many places because when we own the pub, we barred that many people that it's kind of like tumbleweed town if you work into certain places. So we don't go anywhere in the town centre. We go to, there's a pub, the Rising Sun, which is just down the road from work. So naturally, if I'm concerned about the walk or the petrol situation, we will have to just stop in there and just recess, have a meeting. And then usually other people may turn up to join the meeting.
Nice.
Yep. And then we have one down the road from us that just opened just before COVID called the Bridge Inn. What a riot place that is. It's cracking. You get all the old boys in there. Honestly, get all the old boys in there. Cheap as chips, nice beer, just proper old-fashioned English pub. Pool darts.
Nice.
No karaoke, thank Christ.
I'm not a fan of karaoke, huh?
Oh, I hate it. I hate walking into a pub and then just as you've ordered your drink, someone starts wailing. Oh, Christ.
I've had the time of my life. Yeah. It's terrible. And, so now that you've said that, though, when you come back out to America, we're going to a karaoke.
Can I
just because
let us singing?
No, because I'm gonna force you to get up on stage is what I'm gonna do.
What about just near the feet, so they go away?
No, no. You're gonna sing. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Because I'm gonna get you drunk and street drunk, and then you guys are gonna sing.
That's the one thing that there is never enough beer for. I will pass out. I will go into a coma before that happens.
I don't know. I think we'll make it work.
That would be our next horror film. Just me singing for an hour and a half. That'd summon the friggin' spirits on Halloween.
That kind of reminds me. I was helping a friend that produced a movie that I did called Story Viva, and she had previously produced a movie called Karaoke Man.
No, don't like it already.
Yeah. It's got some notable cast members. I think Zachary Levi is in it, and part of it anyway. Guy from Chuck and plays Shazam now. But it's called Karaoke Man. So they kind of messed up though because they shot this entire movie and had all of these songs that they had people sing, but what they didn't think about was getting the rights to the songs.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, and I feel really bad for them. I do, because I get the mistake. Like if you just don't understand copyright or any of that stuff, I guess they just felt like they could do it afterwards, but they couldn't. Because music can be extremely expensive to license. And they weren't like, it wasn't like just playing a song. that was previously recorded. They were redoing it because they were doing karaoke in it, right? So as other people, that's a whole different like set of rights that you have to acquire. And they basically couldn't get any of the rights. It was just too cost prohibitive. And they spent like $300,000 on this movie.
See, karaoke is the devil.
Right? It was for them. So they recut the movie and they cut out all of the karaoke songs.
So what is it now?
They would never.
Man?
Right? I watched it. It's not a terrible movie, but it's just like an oddity because there's no karaoke in the movie. There's no. It's so hilarious. That's like somebody will get up on stage and about to saying cut to another scene. I mean, I would think I would have at least went back and reshot those scenes.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, got original music or something. I don't know. But yeah, so speaking of karaoke.
Oh man, I bet they'd shoot people in a karaoke bar. The side of that microphone, pow.
Yeah, they've got karaoke PTSD, I think, at this point. All right, moving on. Tonight's drink. If you guys are ready for this, this is called the Serial Killer.
Oh, nice.
Ooh, yeah. And it's served in our favorite glass, the highball. And the Serial Killer consists of 6 ingredients. It is an ounce of Malibu rum, 1 ounce of spiced rum, 1 ounce of light rum, a lot of rum here, 2.5 ounces of orange juice, 2.5 ounces of pineapple juice, and 3/4 ounce of grenadine. I'm not even sure how to measure like a 3/4 ounce of grenadine. Do they have shot glasses for 3/4? There's probably like a line inside like the professional, because like the professional shot glass measurer thingies.
I think I just eyeball it and killing people. Like, maybe that's why it's called a serial killer.
Yeah, because your 1 ounce is probably like 3 ounces, and everybody else is a little different.
I'm pint glass, so straight away.
And okay, so it's basically 3 ounces of rum of different variations. It's 5 ounces of juice, orange and pineapple, and a 3/4 ounce of grenadine. I think grenadine is probably just there for the color. And that's our squashed bugs, for those that remember from our earlier podcast where Street explained to us what grenadine is made of. And the preparation is, you're going to put it in one of those little, what do you call it? The mixer thingers? I've already forgotten. the metal shaker. You put it in a shaker. I think that's what they call it.
I can't help because all I got in my head is just Tom Cruise just shaking a metal thing. Sorry.
In Cocktail, yeah. Oh my God. That movie was so big at the time. So you put all your ingredients into a shaker, and you shake it well over ice, and you shake it till the ice sounds different. And then you're going to strain it into an ice-filled highball glass. And from there, you enjoy your serial killer. I don't think there's any garnishes or anything on this, but I have a feeling that somebody probably would throw in like a slice of orange or maybe a pineapple on a stick or something. I could see that happening. But yeah, this sounds like a pretty sweet drink. But that's, Jesus, 3 ounces of alcohol in it is pretty hefty for a single drink. So that's pretty. I can see why it's called serial killer. That's what we're having tonight, folks. So go ahead and make your serial killer and sit back and sip on it while we watch tonight's trailer.
There was a storm. accident.
And we got stuck, and we couldn't get out. We couldn't get out because of the storm.
Hey!
It's flooded. It's dead end.
You the manager? Officer Rhodes. Transporting a prisoner here. But the roads were all flooded and I could use a room.
I don't think we can get out tonight.
I'm not staying here. Are you out of your mind?
There's no place else to go.
What happened at the motel? People started dying.
What's going on?
Go in your room and lock your door.
And then their bodies, they disappeared.
Nobody in there.
That's not possible. I saw what happened. We all saw what happened.
This doesn't make any sense.
Maybe there's some connection between all of us.
Like what? My birthday next week.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah.
Yet as to what he plays, but he starts out as an actual police officer at the beginning of this film, as to where John Cusack was a former police officer. So they got a lot to talk about. Then we got Amanda Peet, who plays Paris, Nevada, and we discover that she's a prostitute trying to get out of Las Vegas. Then there is the hotel manager, who was played by John Hawkes, which a lot of people might not know his name, but he shows up in a lot of stuff and he's always great. Like he's just a solid, I don't want to call him a character actor because they give him character roles, but he's just a pretty solid character. I mean, a pretty solid actor. I think he's just great. And then I don't know what it is about this woman, but I have loved her from the first moment that I saw her. I think the first time that I saw her was in a low-budget horror film from Full Moon. I think it was called Arcade. Might have been the name of it. But Clea Duval. I think she's awesome. I freaking love this girl. She was in John Carpenter's... yeah, she's in Faculty, yeah. Yep. Ghosts of Mars from John Carpenter. She's great, man. I love Clea Duvall. Not related to what's his name? The more famous actor, Robert Duvall. Is that his name? Okay, yeah, not related. She's got a pretty good history though. She came up in the industry all on her own from nowhere, you know. But she's just great. I really love her. Then we have Rebecca De Mornay, who plays Caroline Susan, a twofer, first name and first name for last name. And she plays a 80s Hollywood TV actress. I don't know if she's supposed to be a has-been actress or
she's got a lot of money for a has-been.
Yeah, right. That was what was a little strange to me, or at least she's like portraying that she's still got money, but she seems to has some clout, you know. But she is being chauffeured by the John Cusack character, who seems to be exceedingly annoyed by her, although he's very kind.
Yeah.
John Cusack is a very kind. If you want a chauffeur driver, he's the guy for you. I mean, honestly, like, and then we have this guy when he shows. He is such a goofball, but damn, is he a tour de force of an actor? John C. McGinley. This guy, I feel like he could play anything, you know,
I really
but
like him.
I feel like I do too. And I don't know why, like, I can't figure it out. Like everything he's in, I just like, he's like the star,
but can be so goofy. I feel like if he came in for like an audition, I'd be like, what? No, sorry. But I feel like just him, he could like when I watch him in anything, it's like, he just nails it like every time. He's just so consistent. Even in the silly roles that he does, or what was that TV show Scrubs he was in?
Scrubs.
Like he could on a dime just go from like this like ridiculous comedy to like some heartfelt seriousness. Seriousness is going on. Sorry, my serial killer is getting to me now. Yeah, I mean, he just can flip it so quickly and be like, oh my God, he's so good. And the list continues. I mean, this is such a stacked cast. It's like, it's so great. Jake Busey, who is a favorite of mine from The Frighteners.
Yes.
Which I just love that movie. Him and Michael J. Fox are just amazing in that film. There's a lot of people in that film as well that are just great. And then another personal favorite, like I think that this guy is an amazing actor. I think he's so underrated. I mean, people really need to like recognize him more. And he goes back in the industry like decades. The first time I saw him was in Jacob's Ladder. And he has these eyes that are so intense that when I think they use him just to cut away to his reaction shots, but he's a really great actor. And his name is Pruitt Taylor Vance. And James Mangold, the director of Identity, worked with him previously in one of my, I would say this is easily in my top 10 list of films. It was a film called Heavy that starred Pruitt Taylor Vance and Liv Tyler. And if you haven't seen it, check it out. It's just such a fantastic film, and it's written and directed by James Mangold. But Pruitt Taylor Vance is just, I mean, he shines in this film. As to where most films or directors or casting, whatever, will put him in like a character actor role. It was just such a fantastic movie for him. He also showed up in the Mentalist, where he was damn good in that. Like he didn't speak a lot, but that face and those eyes like spoke like,
those eyeballs did all the work.
Yeah. Like I wish they had done like a spin-off with him,
What, just him and his eyeballs?
In that show. Yeah. I mean, it's he can be intense, man. But I love him. And then Alfred Molina, as you know, he's from first showed up in Indiana Jones, and has gone on to do a lot of work. Might be reprising his role as Dr. Octopus in the Marvel Universe. We have Frederick Coffin. He's another character actor. Has been on a lot of stuff, and sadly enough, he passed away shortly after the film was made. And Identity was his final movie. He did show up a lot in television. He was in Murder, She Wrote, I believe, as well as many, many other things. Carmen Argenziano, who you might recognize.
Stargate.
Shows up stuff. Stargate. Okay, there you go. It's in a lot of stuff. Several of these people have worked together previously, like in Starship Troopers and just different things. Matt Latcher. I can't pronounce some of these people's names, which is par for the course for me, as you folks know. And then another favorite of mine, Marshall Bell, who was also in Starship Troopers, but he was also played an amazing character and role in the TV show Millennium. I believe it was the second episode called The Judge, which he played the judge. And he basically was, if I remember correctly, he was hunting down serial killers and feeding them to his pigs.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great, strange episode of television. So if you can find the TV show Millennium anywhere, it's made by Chris Carter from the X-Files, and Marshall Bell plays, I believe it's the second episode of the first season.
the judge, and it's just amazing. It's an amazing episode. So anyway, there you go. That's a huge cast, especially for the time that this movie came out in 2003. All of these people were really in their prime and working a lot. And this movie wasn't a huge film. It was only, I believe, $28 million budget on this film, shot in one location. And it's actually shot in a location which Carly and I have been looking for shooting Room 19 at. And so we actually know how much this location costs to shoot at. But
spoiler alert.
it's a fantastic location that shows up in a lot of TV shows and movies. And they use it very well in this film. I mean, it's like they use every aspect of this location in this movie. I'm not sure if any of this is studio shot, but it looks like it's all shot on this one location. And I would almost bet that that's pretty much the case. But let's see here. I want to go through, before we get into the movie, I had so much to talk about with this film. So I'm sorry if this ends up being like a super long episode for people, but it's such a great movie. I want to go through and I'm going to read you a couple reviews for the movie because it wasn't universally loved when it first came out. It wasn't panned, but
people just didn't get
it was sort of like, I don't know if it was really the audience because it actually did well at the box office at the time. By, I guess, today's standards, it probably wasn't great opening weekend, but at the time that was pretty, I'd say, normal for a thriller, which this probably would have been marketed as. Mm. But it seemed like it was sort of a split on the review sides of, film critics. However, there's a few notable ones which I really enjoy and I think really speak to the film quite well. And Roger Ebert, when he reviewed the film when it released, he gave it 3 stars out of 4. And he said, I've seen a lot of movies that are intriguing for the first 2 acts and then go on autopilot with a formula ending. Identity is a rarity. A movie that seems to be in autopilot for the first 2 acts and then reveals that it was not, with a 3rd act that causes us to rethink everything that goes on before. Ingenious. How simple and yet how devious the solution is. And I think that is such a perfect review of this film that if that doesn't make you want to watch it, then it's just not the movie for you. And then Mick LaSalle of San Francisco Gate says, at first, Identity seems like nothing more than a pleasing and blatant homage or ripoff to the Agatha Christie style thriller where marooned guests realize that a murderer is in the midst. We've seen it before. Yet make no mistake, Identity is more than an entertaining thriller. It's a highly original one. And those, I don't think I can say it better or anybody else really. Like those 2 reviews right there really speak to this movie and I think really kind of give you a sense of what you're in for. Because it is very, I would say it's definitely like, and then there was one, the 10 Little Indians, Agatha Christie kind of story. It's very much in that vein, but it's very much not at the same time. So I think that those were really fantastic reviews, and we don't really talk about reviews too much on the show other than whether people liked it or not. But for some reason, I just felt the need to kind of lay that out because this movie is like, 2003, what is that? It's going on 20 years now. And people need to rediscover this movie because it's so well made and just the look and the style of it hasn't aged at all.
It really doesn't look like a 20-year-old movie.
No, not at all. Like I really honestly feel like this could come out at the theater today and it looks like a movie made today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Identity, speaking of the box office, as we were, Identity went on to gross $52.1 million in the United States
and 38.1 million. 52.1 million in the United States and Canada, North America, basically, and 38.1 million overseas. So it was about 90 million worldwide, which was very solid for a thriller film with a $28 million budget. I mean, that's like, I'm surprised that they weren't trying to make sequels to this, or even like straight to video sequels or something. I mean, I feel like this could have been Cusack's John Wick or something. Like, but obviously
just going around solving mentally.
Yeah. Right. I feel like, right. But then once you get to the end of the movie, you're like, okay, that's just not possible. How could they ever make a sequel to this if it wasn't
his cop years? They could have done like Ed.
Yeah, prequel.
The dark
they could have
side
done like
of
a series
LA.
of prequels.
Yeah.
Sure. No, it's absolutely like, that's an excellent way they could have done this. They could have done this is like the end of the series.
Right. Somebody
and
tweet
they could have
John
went back.
Cusack. Get on Twitter.
Right.
Let him know.
James Mangold is there because he's such an excellent director.
Tweet him as well.
They could have, they could have went back and they could have taken Pruitt Taylor Vince's character and shown us from the beginning, like when did all of this happen? And, and all these characters could still be involved or different ones. Maybe he's developed different ones over there. Like, who knows? Like there definitely is a lot of story that could be told just based off of this movie. Like there's so many solid characters in this film.
Do you know which one I'd like to see the most? The crime
I would love
spree.
to. Yeah. Tell me.
The crime spree of Ray and the other dude. The two criminals.
Like what? But what about you? You just want to see like them, like their original story, like what they did.
Yeah, because I think that would be quite.
Oh, cool! Yeah, yeah. No, I agree because they're fucking nuts, right?
Yeah.
They're both just so nuts that, like, yeah, those would be super entertaining. I mean, it would be. I feel like if you look at, Busey's character in The Frighteners, I feel like that's him still. Yeah. Like that's his character in this movie. Like that's him after he dies in this movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Goes off to scare
I
Michael
got me
J.
a
Fox.
score of 13. Yeah, right? Like I feel like there's a universe where these two movies are connected.
Yeah.
Like there could be a series of Frighteners movies that deal with each one of their ghosts. So I feel like that could definitely happen. We could have prequels and we could also have sequels as ghosts. So it did really well at the box office. It didn't fail by any means. And it's not a film that was ever, I think, on the mass public's mind, but it has garnered a pretty heavy following over the years, which is great. It just needs a much bigger one because I don't ever hear anybody talking about it. But every time that I mention it, everybody is like, oh, that was a great movie. Like it was never like, oh yeah, I've seen that. It's like, oh yeah, that was really good. And I think that's amazing. I think this is like one of those movies that if enough people see it, it'll be one of those films that stays around. Like this is such a Hitchcockian kind of thriller that, it deserves to have that sort of notoriety, I think. Because if you look back at movies like Psycho, it's such a small film, right? It takes place in one location virtually. And it's the same sort of like master storytelling, I think. If you haven't seen Identity, or even if you have, get it out there more, like tell people about it or watch it again, like post about it on your socials, that kind of thing.
Tweet John Cusack.
And then maybe they'll give us some money for promoting it.
Yeah. Let him know we've got an idea. The Noir Chronicles.
Right.
Ed and his blackouts.
Right. Now, I want to talk a minute about James Mangold, the director of this film and co-screenwriter. He hasn't done a massive amount of work, but the work he's done has been pretty amazing. There's some hit or misses, but the ones that are hits are like really good hits, right? So he wrote Oliver and Company. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but he wrote that, and that's where he kind of started from. And then from there, he wrote one of my personal favorites, Heavy, in 95. He wrote and directed it. And then it just got better. Then he did Copland, if you guys have seen that. It's just a fantastic low-key film. He went on and did Girl Interrupted, also wrote and directed. And I think that did Angelina Jolie, I think maybe won an Academy Award or was nominated?
She did, yeah. Best supporting actress, wasn't it?
I think something like that. Yeah, if I remember correctly. And that was kind of a crazy movie too. That was interesting.
I like that.
Yeah. Kate and Leopold, which I think was kind of popular at the time, but I don't think I've seen it. And from there he went on to do Identity, which is amazing. Then I think another Academy Award winner, Walk the Line, which I think Reese Witherspoon might have won the Academy Award or was nominated or something like that.
Yeah.
310 The Yuma, which was also very popular at the time. And then I would not watch this movie, I don't think, but Night and Day, which I think was, if I remember correctly, was this Tom Cruise and Cameron Diaz, maybe?
Yeah.
Do I have the right film?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, if it's that film, I was like, oh. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe it was just a good paycheck. He just directed it, didn't write it.
Disconnect is really good. Have you seen that?
I haven't. I don't even
good.
know this movie. I'll have to look that up. Thank you.
You'll realise why I watched it in 2 seconds.
Oh my gosh, let me guess. It's got Guy Pearce in it.
No, you're wrong.
No?
He's not in this film. Don't check. I know it's surprising.
Excuse me, my serial killer's getting to me. I swallowed the serial killer wrong. He then went on. Excuse me while I die. He went on to direct The Wolverine, which wasn't great, I guess, in my opinion. I expected a lot more. But I don't really think it was the direction. I think it was just a bad script, in my opinion. But he followed that up with an amazing film, a Wolverine film called Logan, which this one he wrote and directed. And that, I think, is just what a fantastic neo-noir superhero film. I mean, it's not really a superhero film to me. This one came out of nowhere to me. This is just a really fucking great movie. He did the character service in that, and it's just a well-made film. The Greatest Showman came out, I think, around the same year. I haven't seen that, but he didn't direct it or write it. He just executive produced it. But that was a pretty big film. I don't know if it did well or not, but
it's bloody good.
Is it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one that you probably would love, Ford versus Ferrari, which I know did well.
I was just looking at that one.
Yeah. I think that was also nominated for Academy Award, or I don't think it won, but and that one he directed but didn't write. And then another miss, which this one was really disappointing. I was pretty excited about this. My son, really loved the book. He's read it a few times, and I read it when I was a kid. And I've seen the original movie and all that kind of stuff, but I was and Harrison Ford starred in it. So I'm a big Harrison Ford fan. But The Call of the Wild, and it was so terrible. Like, it wasn't like a bad script or anything, but the CGI was so bad that you just couldn't, like, for me, I just could not connect to the dog. I could not connect to the story at all. But that was pretty disappointing to me. But thankfully, he didn't direct or write it either. He just helped produce it or executive produce it. So,
what a world we're in when poor Harrison Ford, at his age, has to pretend to, like, interact with a dog that's not there.
Yeah,
I feel like they could have very easily had a real dog on set for a lot of the movie, and then maybe used CGI for, the stunts and things like that. But it was just so animated looking. Like I just feel like they just rushed it either out, which is weird because they should have taken the opportunity over COVID to finish it properly, because, all those people could work from home for the most part, I think, anyway, to finish that off and then release it, when theaters moved, open back up, and it probably would have been better off. But I think with what they had, it probably didn't test well. So they're like, oh, let's just cut our losses, push it out. But it wasn't like it wasn't heavily promoted, because they did a lot of promotion, but it just did not turn out well, unfortunately. And then next up, one I'm really excited about, just because I think that Mangold is a really good director. And he's previously worked with Harrison Ford, is the new Indiana Jones movie, which he's slated to direct. And I believe he's either written the script or co-wrote it. I'm not really sure, but they're filming right now. And I think maybe it's still shut down, because I think Harrison Ford broke his ankle or something like that. I can't really recall.
Harrison Ford injured himself. You do surprise me.
Yeah, he did. I believe he did. Yeah. Which I don't think that's the first time he's injured himself on a set. I think he also hurt himself on Star Wars too.
I know, I was being sarcastic.
I can't remember.
He's been in 2 places.
Oh. Oh, yes, he did. Yeah.
He's like the $6 million man.
Right.
In fact, that could be his bloody next role. We'll rebuild Harrison Ford. I'm just coming out with great ideas today. So this guy's got a good list of films that he has directed and written, and this is one of the lower key films. I would fit this in kind of with Copland in terms of like the low keyness of it. But it's so solid, and the atmosphere and the characters and the story. It's just a fantastic script and just well balanced film altogether. And it's a complicated, like, I know the story, if you look at it in the big picture, it's so simple. But if you sort of dig in from a directorial standpoint, it would be so complicated to handle this, in my opinion. Like, I don't know that I could do this film. Like, I'm pretty sure I would screw it up. There's a lot to grasp, like with this many characters. I think, and also being in a single location with this many characters and this type of story, because there's so many stories going on within this film. It's not like he's telling one movie, he's telling many movies. And that's just the brilliance of the script, I think. So with that said, and all my rambling, and we're probably like 2 hours into the podcast already, let's talk about the movie. The movie starts off with my bad synopsis.
Oh my God. How do I forget this every damn time?
Absolute monster.
You're fired.
You're fired.
You're fired because I keep screwing up.
I don't care. I'm going to go and get a job with John Cusack on his new show. I heard it's really good. You need to interrupt me occasionally and be like, hey, shut up. Time for In a Nutshell. So here we go, folks. I know you've been waiting like a half an hour to hear Carly's synopsis of this film. I've probably given away too much already, but it needs to be said here. So Carly, maybe I could cut this. Maybe we just edit this out, or maybe I'll just keep in this talk about me talking about editing it. Yeah, it's not
it's
that
going to be
really,
great,
so
damn it, because we watched a great film. We are. It's going to be great. And if it's not great, then you're fired again. In the same podcast, okay. You're fired twice. No.
Oh, cool. This is like The Apprentice.
All right. I think maybe I'll just cut all that and I'll put it before.
Oh.
So before we get into tonight's movie, let's see. How would we do this? Let's see. We talked about...
I gotta figure this out.
All of this stays in the podcast. Because it's just like a
all right,
bit of
screw it.
insight
I'll
into
keep
your
it.
minds. This is why you couldn't
I'll
handle
keep it and we'll
identity.
That's right. I wouldn't be able to pronounce any of their names.
You in this film?
All right. So we'll keep all that just for Carly, and we'll have her do her synopsis in a nutshell. Here we go. And now it's time for Carly's super famous in a nutshell synopsis. That's your cue, Carly. Damn it! I stepped on it. All right, here we go again. Carly needs a good 30 seconds of silence before she can get into it. All right, here we go again.
What I said.
All right, Carly's in a nutshell synopsis. And now it's time for Carly's super famous in a nutshell synopsis.
A murder mystery evening in your head. Do you like it? I've also got set in the unluckiest motel in the world and featuring a cast of the most unhappy people you're ever likely to meet.
That's not bad, but I would say the El Royale might be the most unluckiest hotel in the world.
I don't know.
I think so. That's another one that I really enjoyed. And I wasn't sure I was going to, but it feels a lot like this movie in tone and atmosphere. Even though it's a little more outlandish in certain points. But if you haven't seen the El Royale, I would suggest you see that as well. I think this is a very good, solid, like double feature Identity in El Royale. But anyway, I guess that's so short and sweet.
Yep.
It's really perfect. Like it makes a lot of sense. I guess because I like the movie so much, I wanted it to be longer. And I know I spoke earlier about this being like Agatha Christie's story, and then there were none. And I know it's loosely based on it. But again, like I feel like the movie really flips it on its head. Like this is not a straightforward serial killer film or revenge film, or really it's not a serial killer film at all.
No.
And that's the brilliance of it. This is a psychological drama that's told through the lens of a murder mystery. And so we get some insight, but it's so brilliantly written and done, you don't really understand it. But it tells you everything in the first 10 seconds of the movie or 20 seconds of the movie, whatever the intro takes. It might be like a minute or something, where we're hearing Pruitt Taylor Vance and Alfred Molina's character speak over like audio recordings, and Alfred Molina's character is taking some notes, and newspaper clippings and things like that. Like it's really setting you up, and I think that might have been a huge draw with the trailer at the time, like with marketing. Like what a great marketing campaign they must have had for this, right? Because you can market this as this like intense, murder mystery thriller kind of film, because the meat of it really is, but in reality it's something completely different, and they really set it up well at the beginning of this film. And there's sort of a strange kind of dynamic here with this stay of execution that happens at the beginning of the movie, where there's a sort of I can't remember what you call it, but that's that sort of like you have to get that phone call from the judge or the governor or the mayor. I can't remember like who exactly it is, but you got to be able to have that person on board to stop an execution, to get a stay of execution, to have I guess you would call it
a court case of some sort. Like you have to do a new sort of like presenting of evidence, so to speak, so this person doesn't get, executed.
Which never works
and
well
that's
when
where
you
this
hide
film,
some.
right?
Like they did.
And right. And it did not work out really, but that's kind of the basis for the film right here, right? So they're getting a stay of execution for this serial killer, and they're bringing him somewhere, and they're going to interview him. They're going to figure out like why, he shouldn't be killed. And so I believe this is presented, I guess, in a way where we're in, I don't know. I can't really recall. Like, is it like it feels like we're going into a flashback or just cutting to a new story?
It's a new story, isn't it?
Because, yeah, it's like, it really feels like it's not anything that really matters, honestly. You get so engrossed with what comes after that when you cut back to things of Pruitt Taylor Vince's character, Malcolm, telling his stories, like, it doesn't really matter, No. And if you step back and you kind of look at it, you're like, well, that didn't really make sense, did it? Of course, it makes sense in the end.
At the time,
but
I kind of assume that like it's something to do with the criminal that the cops got, or like the story of how he came there, or something like that. Is where it leads you to believe.
The Ray Liotta character.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree that it feels like there's something, it's leading to something that involves the Malcolm Rivers character.
Yeah.
Yes. But it never does. Well, it does, but not in the way that anybody thinks that it does, because, his self doesn't interact or ever meet any of these characters in any way that you think that they would. I'm trying not to ruin this movie. Like, if nobody has seen this film, I mean, it's 20 years old. So I feel like we should just be able to talk freely about it, but it's such a great film. It's like, if you give away the end of The Sixth Sense to somebody, you might as well get murdered, because that's just wrong. But everybody should have seen it by now, kind of thing. But yeah. I realize that there's people that are born after me and might not have seen it.
How dare they?
Right. How dare you be born after 2003 or, whatever. I don't know. I hope people go back and watch this film and they can, I don't want to tell the ending, Carly.
Well,
you gotta help me not tell the ending of the movie.
Now, and then it's people's own faults. Jason can't not spoil the film for much longer. Right.
But then they might not listen to this podcast.
Well, there we go. Well, then they suck anyway, so.
Right. So as we cut to a seemingly side story, news story, or story involving why this stay of execution is happening, we start to be introduced to this extremely moody, atmospheric place, which is a roadside motel. And it's pouring down rain, and it never stops raining in this movie. It's so foreboding and so atmospheric and beautifully shot. The DP just did a fantastic job on this film, I think. From the, I wouldn't say muted colors, but very noir, pressed blacks, rainy atmosphere, like all of it, it feels fantastic. I really love this. This is my kind of film. We start to be introduced to all of these characters. All these characters end up showing up at this roadside motel for one reason or another, to get out of the rain. They had a flat tire. They gotten lost.
I really like how they affect one another, though. Like with the shoe.
Oh yeah.
And then
it's all so connected.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's such a brilliant. It could come off as like sort of cheesy in a way if they had just did that, but because of what happens in the end of this movie, it's such an ingenious way of connecting everything, and it makes complete sense as to why those elements connected.
Like it wasn't just there just to be there. I guess in a way it is just there to be there, but it makes more sense that things like that are connected.
Yeah.
Once you get to the end of the film, and they're just little things that don't really matter, like, overall, but it in reality that, they would be connected. It makes a lot of sense. Just really fantastic writing. So we're introduced to all these crazy characters that are just going through some shit. The hotel desk manager. We have the wife of John C. McGinley's, his wife, gets hit, by, I can't remember which character it was.
Ed.
But anyway, Ed. Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. That's right. The limo hits her. So she's down for the count for most of the movie.
I know, what a good job she had.
Right?
Lie down, looked at. Okay.
Yeah. We've got the warring boyfriend and girlfriend, the Clea Duval character and her boyfriend, and the prostitute shows up, and, the 80s movie star shows up with the John Cusack character and all these kinds of things. Then we have Ray Liotta shows up, and, he's a police officer of some sort of detective with a I don't know, what is he, like a serial killer, like the Jake Busey character is some sort of murderer as well, like, and he's transporting him
because he says, "Oh yeah,
you really
sides or something," but
yeah,
you'd think there'd be
so there's a lot of like you, yeah, and I don't know if they ever really tell you, did he actually? I mean, you think he did, but and then I believe that they had like the cops were in the trunk or something, but you don't see that quite yet. Then we go through all of these people trying to hole up in this hotel, get out of the rain, trying to find or get an ambulance out for the woman that's hit by the car. And so they try to stabilize her. Ray Liotta's character tries to, secure Robert Maine, who's the Jake Busey character, to make sure that he doesn't get loose. And then we see something interesting, which is Ray Liotta takes off his jacket, I believe, and we see that he's got like a blood. He's either been shot or something along those lines. At least that's what it shows to me. But I think he actually wasn't hurt. That was the blood from somebody else because he took their clothes.
Yeah.
And that is something. Yeah.
So when he's securing the prisoner to the pipe on the wall, which is the stupidest thing in the world to do, why didn't he handcuff his hands to his feet around the toilet? Because then he'd have gone nowhere.
I think that the reason why is because he's not actually a police officer, right?
Well,
which I've already led to a few times. So I think I'm kind of, ruining portions of the movie. I need somebody to keep me in control here.
But still, he didn't really want him to get away and then start throwing around his secret. He's my secret policeman.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he punches him for good measure. Maybe that will keep him from going anywhere.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know. For me, I think there's a certain level of humanity, because to be handcuffed that way from your hands to your ankles, that's extremely uncomfortable, right? And there's no telling how long. No, he might have, like, I don't know. I think his hands might have gone numb with the cuffs, like digging into them. It might have been very uncomfortable at the very least, which might have been terrible. I could just imagine being handcuffed that way and just like wanting to probably die after like a half an hour. But I don't know. I think I would just chalk that up to him not actually being a police officer, which it's pretty quickly that we learn that there's something off with this guy, right? It's not, they don't keep it a secret for very long. Like Ray Liotta does play a fucking creepy guy very well.
And he's one-liners as well, isn't he, in this film?
Oh yeah.
There's little off-the-cuff comments.
Mm-hmm. He's got such that intense face and those eyes too, where it's like I feel like he's like murdering you with his eyeballs. Like everybody he looks at, he's like, you can't see it, but I'm stabbing you to death right now. like I feel like that's sort of like what he's doing, you know, and
maybe you should tweet that to him as well while we're tweeting people. You murder me with your eyeballs, Ray.
Yeah. And then he does this really creepy sort of scene with Amanda Peet, where he sees her trying to get her whatever junk food out of the vending machine, and he gets even creepier, you know, staring at her and like doing his whole I mean, in this scene, he's basically like, I'm raping you with my eyes kind of thing. And it's really like gross in my opinion. I don't know. Yeah. And they're really setting him up to be like this fucking creep and not trusting him. You don't know if you're not trusting like just a bad cop at this point or what is happening. Right. But you just don't trust this guy. And I think that they do that to every character to some effect. Mm-hmm. They make that's another brilliance of this script, is like they find a way to create these mini stories for everybody. Like every character in this story has it seems like such a rich backstory. They're coming from somewhere, they're escaping from somewhere. There's, you know what I mean? Like every character in this movie is the lead of a neo-noir film. And it would have been, would have been really great. I'm getting off the rails here, but do you remember the movie 13 Ghosts, the remake?
Yeah. With
Matthew Lillard and Tony Shalhoub. God, what a great movie that was. They designed each one of those ghosts with a very rich backstory. And there's this great featurette on the Blu-ray or DVD that sort of dives into those backstories a little bit. And I'm bringing that up because I feel like they could have done that with this film as well. Because I know that the writers did. The writers, I bet you they had some pages of work that they had done to draw these characters out. And I think that would have been a fantastic thing to look at for this movie, because they're so well done. And like I said, they're all running from something. And we get to see that. We see that over the course of the next, 15, 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. We see kind of a little bits of pieces, we get the movie actress, I guess, I can't remember what it was, getting a hold of her agent or something like that. Mm-hmm. We see Amanda Peet's character with a box full of money. We see sort of, like, well, where'd that come from? Like, who'd she steal that from, kind of thing. Or maybe she's just been saving up as, she's a prostitute or whatever, who knows, wherever it came from. But they make these little ominous kind of vignettes of all these people's lives, Clea Duvall's character with her newly wed husband, and they're not doing well. Like you know what I mean? There's like, they just do it so well. Like all these little pieces are in some way or another relatable, or at least extremely interesting to see. And it doesn't take long before we jump into the first murder. And we see, Caroline Suzanne, the 80s actress, trying to find cell phone signal as she roams around the motel. And she is attacked, and we don't really get to see who attacks her or what happens to her. But Ed hears something, and the Boy Scout that he is, and that's truly what he is in this fucking movie. This guy is like, he's the do-gooder.
Yeah.
You can see he's got some kind of history. Like, he's not a happy dude, but you can tell he stands for,
he
justice.
Cannot stand idly by while there's an injustice going on around the corner.
Exactly. Yeah. This guy, he's Vanilla Ice. If there's a problem, he's going to solve it. Right.
I can't believe I just juxtaposed John Cusack and Vanilla Ice, but there you go. There you have it, folks. Dun, 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 dun. Carly's over like, who's Vanilla Ice?
Oh, no, wait. He's the dude with the big hair.
Oh, shit. You don't even know. Oh, my God.
He's the dude with the big hair. He does a song, but I don't know what it is. Ice Ice Baby!
He ripped off David Bowie's Under Pressure, right?
Oh, so he's a rip-off merchant.
Anyway, I don't know how I managed that one. So John Cusack goes and fumbles around looking for clues, and he finds an earring, finds the laundry room with the dryer running, finds lots and lots and lots of water and broken downspouts.
He's very good at finding things, isn't he?
He is, and he does it fairly quickly, yeah.
Yeah, he finds everything.
Yep. And so he makes his way into this laundry area where, clothes are being dried, but that's not all. We also get to see, what do we see? Is it just her items or is her body in there? I can't recall.
Isn't it just the clothes?
Is it just the bloody clothes? Yeah, it might be. I think maybe it's her head, because I think there was like some hair or something that we could see, but maybe they don't show it. And that's another great thing about this film is they don't necessarily show a lot of, I think they do show her head. I think her head is like cut off, and it's in the dryer flipping around, but they don't necessarily show a whole hell of a lot of gore in this film, but it's enough to be like, oh shit, this is serious kind of thing. Right. And this is where they sort of start the infighting. We're about 30 minutes in the movie right now. Like, and this is where people start to become worried that there's shit going on. By the way, I just want to bring this up again. One of the guys in this film, I think he plays, maybe the judge, also has a tie to like X-Files and Millennium, which is kind of cool. He plays a character in the very final. I don't know why I'm bringing this up. I'm sorry, guys, but Millennium is such a great show. If you guys get a chance to watch it, in the final episode of Millennium, which is actually an X-Files song, X-Files episode titled Millennium, right? Is an X-Files episode titled Millennium that sort of puts an end to the Millennium story after it was canceled. The judge that is in Identity plays one of the zombies or something like that.
He's the necromancer. The one that brings
it's something like that. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, with the cell phone, right? So I thought that was kind of cool. There's a couple Millennium connections in this film, which is very cool for me. And a quick plug here: if you guys have seen Millennium, you need to check out our documentary that we made called Millennium After the Millennium. All right. Anyway, moving on. So we cut to a scene where they're sort of arguing about why this is happening and yada, yada, yada. Moving on, we cut back to our main story, or I don't know, is it the main story? I think it is, where we see most of the story, where everybody starts fighting because who killed who's, somebody did this and everybody starts fighting. The couple starts fighting. Everybody's fighting at this point. It's like the first Avengers movie where everybody's fighting everybody, right?
Everyone's having a squabble.
Right.
And nobody's being helpful.
And this is where
John Cusack's found everything.
Right. And this is where more of the brilliant screenwriting comes into play, where now we're separating everybody. Now we're creating these huge opportunities for everybody to be separated and more murders to happen. We've seen the Jake Busey character escape his poorly managed lockup in the bathroom. He escapes and runs across to another area and is hiding out. And then, Ray Liotta's character, I think, discovers he's missing, or maybe it's John Cusack. I can't really recall. But they start to wonder if it's the escaped convict, and then they find him. And I think he is beaten to death, or
murdered at this point? I can't remember. Carly, you help me out here.
Doesn't he have a baseball bat shoved down his gob?
Yeah, I think that's what it was. That's right. Yeah, I think.
As I so eloquently put it.
Right. So that tells the audience, at some point that, it's not him, it's somebody else, obviously, right? We get back to some more characters and everybody's just kind of worried. And this point is where, we're really digging into the neo-noir murder mystery sort of aspects of it and the detective trying to figure things out. We learn more about the characters and, John Cusack used to be a police officer or whatever. Maybe we learned that a little bit earlier. I can't remember. Clea Duval's husband is killed. The killer's leaving like little notes behind and little clues. And there's this really cool thing that they do with the room numbers and the keys. And it's so low key and you think it's a part of figuring out the murder mystery, right? Like these are clues being dropped that are going to lead to who the killer is, right? But as we find out in the end of this film, that is not the case at all. But it's such a brilliant kind of clue that's being left, that the screenwriter's dead, that you think that this is leading somewhere. Like this is going to show us who the murderer is at some point. Somewhere this is going to connect the dots. But it never does in the way that you think it's going to. So we're going to keep moving on with these characters infighting and worried about who the killer is and people panicking, and everybody starts to suspect the motel manager, and he starts freaking out because he's really anti
everything.
He's just like he's really against this prostitute, Amanda Pete's character, for some reason. And that leads to him freaking out, and it leads to a sort of like interesting reveal of him backing into, I guess, the kitchen area of the motel or the kitchen, something like that, and falling against the freezer door. And then another dead body pops out. And this is somebody we've never seen before. And then he takes off and tries to leave. They apprehend him. But in the process of that, he ends up smashing his truck into John C. McGinley, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that who he smashes into? Yeah.
Yeah.
And kills him. So everything's getting super heavy and super dark, right? Now we've got somebody that's been murdered. We've got somebody that popped up in a freezer who we don't know. And we've got another accidental death. And also the other character that was murdered in the hotel room. So there's a lot of death in this movie so far. And we don't know who the hell it is. And the convict is killed as well. So there's a shitload going on in this film. Then they tie him up. They tie the hotel guy up. He tells his story about kind of taking over the motel. He's not the real motel manager, if I remember correctly. And Carly, remind me, was the motel manager, was he already dead when he got there, or what?
Yeah, he said he was already dead when he got there, and then somebody came to book a room, so he just give him the key, and then put the dude in the freezer when his family came, and then nobody ever came.
Yeah, wonderful circumstances. Right. And it leads me to I'll bring it up maybe later on once we reveal the ending of this film. But there's a little, if there was a loose thread in the film, it would have to do with that portion, but we'll get there. So we go through some more arguing and trying to figure out more of your typical character development, and the characters arguing and fighting and trying to figure out who the murderer is, and lots of lots of little seeds that are placed and lots of back and forth, of John Cusack trying to be the hero here and work things out. Then in the third act, something crazy starts happening and the bodies start disappearing. And we don't know why or what happened or anything. It doesn't really reveal it, but we start to see this sort of kind of weird, I don't know what you would call a supernatural kind of feeling towards it, because the bodies just disappear. They're just gone. Right. So either, the guy's going Michael Myers and hiding the bodies, or something crazy is happening here that we don't understand. And then it gets even crazier. Then in the flashbacks or side flashes or whatever, where we're seeing the story with Pruitt Taylor Vance, all of a sudden we've got John Cusack there being interrogated by the lawyers and the judges, and he's tripping out. And at this point, we're sort of confused as to what's going on. And I feel like John Cusack's character is also confused, right? But this is kind of where it starts leading on as to what's happening, that this serial killer has multiple personalities. And this is where the movie starts to really pay off. Not only do you start
really, really well as well, isn't it? The reveal.
Oh, it's so fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not
so fantastic.
but it's quite distressing and still believable.
Yeah, they could have easily screwed that up.
Yeah.
And they just didn't. They did such a great job. And I don't know if it's the screenwriting or the director, or that they just took the proper time to develop and do pre-production, but it could have very easily been screwed up. And as we keep going after that reveal, or sort of reveal, they don't fully explain it at that point, but it's like it's alluded to. Then we start to see more of the actual motel story unravel a little more, where we start discovering more backstory about these characters. It's fully explained that Ray Liotta is also a convict, as well as the Jake Busey's character. And it shows some flashback. It shows Amanda Peet discover their, I don't know what you call it, their paperwork
files?
Of their transport. Yeah, their case files, I guess, or whatever. They were being transported and they killed the cops in the car, and Ray Liotta's character dressed up as one of the detectives, and their cover story was that he's transporting the Jake Busey's character, sort of thing. So, I mean, these backstories are pretty in depth, and I feel like they're probably more in depth. I bet you each one of these characters have a pretty in depth, like maybe they even shot it. I don't know. Maybe the movie was too long. I wish that was a thing, like that actually happened. I don't know, but that would be great, because I would love to see that at some point. And so things start unraveling faster and faster, and more characters are disappearing, and Ray Liotta becomes the bad guy, and starts hunting them down. And John Cusack is, trying to save her, basically, but he's falling apart too, because he's sharing two worlds now at this point, it seems.
Well, he's effectively been told he's dead.
Right. Yeah. And it's just so well done. And then he ends up getting shot.
Finding stuff led to nothing, John.
Right.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, it's weird, because it feels like it's not in vain, because he's been trying to protect everybody. And at this point he has protected the Amanda Peet character. He's died for her, essentially.
Mm.
Or, almost, I don't know. I guess he dies, right? At that point, he gets shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he essentially dies for her. And then we cut back and we get to see more of Malcolm Rivers. And we really kind of see where this is heading and where this is going, and that it's almost painful for him that these characters are
not characters, but these personalities in his head are essentially being killed off. And the fantastic piece of this is that through this session of his doctor and these lawyers and the judge, it's really a psychiatry session where they're going through these stories that he's telling them and sort of weeding out these personalities. And they're sitting in this room hearing these stories while we're watching it as an audience. And every time somebody is murdered or killed in the story that we're watching, it's a personality dying in his head, to where his true self comes forward. And this is sort of the humanity of the film as well, is like, okay, so if this person truly has multiple personalities, does he deserve to die? Was it one of these characters killing all of these people? Was it him killing all these people? Did they actually cure him of all of his personalities? Who's left inside of his head? Will we ever know, kind of thing? Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of topics to discuss and sort of explore once you get to the end of this movie, that they just touch upon it. Like, this movie is great for discussion. And in-depth looks, because at this point, everybody's dead except for the Amanda Peet character, Paris. And that's such a strange character to leave on the table, for Malcolm being a man, and his alternate personality is Paris, this prostitute who just wants to escape and get away and live a better life in the middle of nowhere. And that's fun because we get to see it actually happen.
Yeah.
In some way, Malcolm Rivers gets to escape.
I think she's kind of like
even if
the similar personality to his mum, isn't it? So it's like imagining if his mum had got out of their life.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we didn't even talk about the child in the movie, I mean, that's a whole other, yeah, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, it's there. He's there for a reason, that's Malcolm's child personality. You know what I mean? Like, it's so great, but that's, when we see her digging up the key in the end, she's escaped. We're digging up the key, but we never saw the child killed or, any of that. So when she digs up that key and then he shows up with the little gardening spike thing, and then we start to realize, oh shit,
mm-hmm.
What's happening? And then we see this flashback where everybody's being murdered by the kid. And it's really like a holy shit, Children of the Corn, kind of, oh my God, like, this is his true personality.
Yeah.
This is who he really is. He wants to be
of Satan,
the Paris character. But in reality, he's this evil child.
Mm-hmm.
And during this car ride, where we see Malcolm, it's just this is where his acting really like shines, we see him struggling with these two personalities in his head. And eventually the child in his head takes over and wins. And we're actually shown basically the same story as the Ray Liotta character, killing the two people transporting him and him taking over. And then that's where, the film leaves us. And it's a bittersweet sort of ending because we, at some point we really wanted Malcolm to beat this. And I think there's that sort of sense of relief that he does when we see Paris, escaping and getting away from the motel, which nobody has been able to do prior. And finding her little piece of happiness, which is like this orchard farmland in the middle of nowhere. But what a fantastic reveal after a reveal
mm-hmm.
of this little boy showing back up, killing her and taking over,
finally taking over. So essentially his doctor did what he set out to do and sort of cleansed him of his personalities. But unfortunately, the remaining personality is a devious, murderous psychopath.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie to me never stops surprising you. Like right to the very end, And I know a lot of people celebrate movies like Seven, and that's a great film as well. But I really think that one is good, but I don't think it's anywhere near as in depth as like Identity is. Identity wasn't as big of a movie. It didn't cost as much, that kind of thing. But the story that they're telling here, I think, is just so much deeper than a movie like Seven is.
Yeah, I'd say that as well.
Yeah. Seven's also a great film and all, but it was more like, I felt like they were trying for more shock value than they were necessarily depth. And this movie really went into depth with all the characters. The idea of schizophrenia, I guess, was probably what, I know it's multiple personalities, but really, I guess in today's world, it could be an allegory for any sort of mental health issue. And it's so brilliantly done. And it's just a bittersweet film. Cause you really want him to make it and survive and, all that kind of stuff. And I mean, he does ultimately, but in such a horrific way.
Yeah. Nobody else around him will. Not for long.
No. And I wonder where he goes after this. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder where he goes after this. I guess in a way, there could be a sequel to this film, like a straight up sequel. You could go one of two ways with that side of it. Maybe his personalities come back, or he develops new personalities, or we just see him going on a murderous rampage or something like that. I mean, I feel like they would end up being completely different types of films. And maybe that's why they never were interested in making a sequel to it.
Yeah.
But there's so much story in this one film.
Yeah, definitely. It really annoys me when people rave about Split and films like that.
Oh.
When this one is out there that you can watch.
Yeah. I like Split. I don't have a problem with Split, but it's essentially the same movie, just not done as well. Mm-hmm. And I really, it's not that it's not done well in and of itself. It's fine. I feel like, what's the guy's name in that film? The main character, the actor?
James McAvoy.
Yeah. I don't particularly care for him. And I know he was praised for his role in that and his acting. I just didn't find his acting that great. And I think that was part of my issue with it. Like, what they did in Identity is they stacked this cast with such great actors and shown you those characters in his head. And that led to more great acting from different people. Like, Pruitt didn't have to carry that load to the point where it was just going to come off sort of cheesy and do different voices and weird shit. Like, I know that they sort of did that in this film, but it was done in a more subtler way, and they used other people's voices for it, opposed to like making the actor like sort of try to be a woman or whatever, you know what I mean? So I felt like it worked much better in this film. And that's one of the major reasons why people should watch this film over Split, or at least watch them both, make your decision. And Split's cool and all. And I like the idea that, M. Night was, continuing his story. I think that's really cool. And he did it in such a different, strange way. And who knows, maybe this movie was an influence to that. I don't know. But
this, in my opinion, this movie was definitely better than it. That was a good call, though. Glad you brought that one up.
You're welcome.
All right, Carly. Shall we do ratings?
Okay.
Okay.
You first.
All right. Me first? Oh, man. I feel like I talked too much already. I feel like everybody's going to think I talked too much already. I don't know. Guys, I'm sorry if I'm long-winded. I really love this film, though. And, take what you want from that. I'm going to try not to talk too much on this, but I really love this film. I think it's atmospheric. I think it's a perfect neo-noir. For so many different reasons: acting, cinematography, atmosphere, direction, script. Everything about this movie is pretty close to being perfect. The only one, I think, string that I recall anyway, the one little string that wasn't fully tied up really is the original motel desk clerk guy.
Yeah.
We don't really... Was he one of his personalities? Is his mind able to create additional characters that aren't his personality? Is that sort of like, I wonder what that sort of idea was really about? Because everybody else in the movie is a personality in his head. Mm-hmm. But to think about this story and where it starts, that person's already dead and in that freezer. So if you're thinking about a personality in his head, how did that personality die? How did that personality end up going away? Is that from previous sessions with his therapist? Is that maybe his actual original personality that's dead? Mm-hmm. Or is that his personality before something extremely tragic happened to him and has been locked away in that freezer? You know what I mean? There's a lot to wonder and think about. And that's the one string that wasn't tied up that I can recall. But other than that, like that to me is like that's a positive that they didn't tie it up, because it makes you think even more. Like if you really are going to analyze this film, it makes you think a lot more about what was the intention of that. And that's a good thing to me. If that was a loose string that mattered, like story wise, like this movie doesn't make sense because of it, then I would probably knocked it down maybe one gin bottle. Ooh. But it's not, you know what I mean? I think it's there, and I think maybe the writers probably know. I don't think it's there just to be a surprise twist, because it is a surprise twist, but I think it's more than that. Like you're talking about the shoe, and things like that. Like it's all connected in some way. We might not fully see it, and that could be because of editing, or, the movie has to be come in at a certain time, or they wanted you to think. So I just like to think that they want you to think, because we need more of that, I think, in movies. So
you said think so many times.
I give it think.
Yeah, it was like
Winnie the Pooh. think.
Jason the Pooh.
Oh no, there you go. Oh, yeah. So 10 gin bottles out of 10 for me. It's just an excellent film all the way around. I love this. It's because I love noir. It's a fantastic neo-noir film. And it's in my top 10 films. I always talk about Identity to everybody. When anybody will ask what kind of movies do you like? Have you seen Identity? You know what I mean? Like this is just, I love this film. It's just got such a sweet spot for me. Love the cast, love the direction, everything about it. So there you go. I think I promised I wasn't going to be long-winded with that. I couldn't help it. I'm so sorry. Talk too much.
You just love this film.
I really do. Your turn. You're up. Batter.
It's in my top 5.
Oh, yes.
I really like it too. Yeah, I really like it too.
Very cool. That's why we get along, Most of the time. Right. Yeah, I'm surprised it didn't star what's his name? Doesn't have Keanu Reeves in it. It doesn't have can't think of his name right now, but
could be one of numerous amounts of people.
Yeah. I'm a huge John Cusack fan, though. I love him.
like
I don't
John
care what it
Cusack.
is. Oh, good. Because I love that dude.
Yeah.
Even when he does the stupid Hollywood films, like I still watch it. He's just fucking highly watchable to me.
Yeah.
Like anything he's in, I mean, even from back in the day, was it Pretty in Pink or whatever? Whatever, the John Hughes movies. He's just great, man. 1408. I love all the shit that he's in. Even Cell. Everybody fucking hates Cell, but I still like it. So
yeah,
whatever.
but he's one of them where I would just literally pick a film up off the shelf. If you were walking to a video shop or something, I'll buy that. £7. I'll have that. Just because John Cusack's in it. Because even if the film's shit,
same here.
He's going to be good.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Lance Henriksen. If he's anything he's in, even if the movie's bad, he makes it that much better.
Yeah.
And I think John Cusack might have a soft spot for noir or neo-noir kind of stuff because he's in several neo-noir type movies. And so that's fucking great for me. Like I love that because I think he's great for those.
He's just got that
movies,
kind of face and just the way that he is.
Mm-hmm.
He is a film noir character, isn't he?
Yeah, he really is. Yep.
Do you know who else I like as well? I really like Amanda Peet. And I don't like female actresses. I don't like women, but I like her a lot.
Yeah, I really think that I like her in this movie quite a bit, but I don't always like her in everything. Like for some reason. Oh, another X-Files Millennium Connection. The second X-Files movie she's in, right?
Yeah, she's she's his partner. She's the cop investigator, the FBI one investigating Billy Connolly, isn't she?
Yeah. And that movie is very millennial. Like if you've seen Millennium, like that movie should have been a Millennium movie, in my opinion. But Amanda Peet's in that and she dies a horrible death in that film. But I didn't really care for her in that movie.
Did you watch the...
And I don't...
Is it Betty? Oh, Betty Broderick?
Matthew Broderick?
No. Have you seen that TV series on Netflix? Eric Bana was in the first series. John Doe or Dirty John? Might be Dirty John. Oh,
no, I haven't, but it's on my radar.
So Eric Bana's in the first series and then This is
a TV show that is scripted that's based on something that actually happened, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because the podcast is like a true crime podcast, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's such a weird dynamic because they're actually making a scripted show based on a podcast, but it's not like a what do you call those? Like when they do like a O.J. Simpson like movie or something, it's just different than that, correct?
Like True Life.
Yeah. Yeah, like a true life drama, I guess. I don't know, whatever. But anyways, it's been on my radar. I haven't watched it yet. What was it about? She's in the second series?
Yeah, she was really good. I mean, the first series was good, but she was really, really good in the second. I can't remember the character.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's Betty Broderick. I might be wrong.
I don't know. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out though, because it's on my list of things to watch. I wanted to listen to the podcast first so I kind of knew what was going on or what it was about, but I haven't. But I've heard people talk about it on other podcasts that I listen to. And then I had found out there was a TV show. I had no idea that they already had a second season though. I thought it was a fairly new show, but I guess not. Is it coming back for a third or are they done with the second season?
So, yeah. I think the second series is fairly recent.
Okay, cool. Good stuff. All right. So I don't think you've actually rated this movie. You just said it was in your top 5.
Sorry. Went off on a little tangent there. Eric Bana's fault. Tweet him as well. Tell him it's his fault.
The Hulk.
The Hulk. I clearly would give it a 10. 10 million gins.
Good. 10 million. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. That makes me very happy. Makes me super happy.
This is coma gin quality.
What's your favorite thing about the film?
Favorite thing about I don't know if it's John Cusack and his endless like musings of being a film noir character. No, because he's like a film noir character in a film. Do you know what? It's like he's been pulled from another film noir and just like dropped in this motel.
And it works. And that's the weird thing. It's not like you can't say that in a bad way. It's like, it's just perfect.
Because my favorite
when I picture him now, I picture John Cusack at a motel in the rain. Yeah. That's like my image of the dude.
Whiskey at the end of the day.
Right.
My favorite scene is when he's photographing the crime scene. I have blackouts. Someone leapt off a bridge, didn't save him. You can just imagine the scene. He needs a cigarette and like a fedora and a shadow.
Yeah. And I think this was a time, early 2000s, where the whole anti-cigarette in films and TV started happening. And there was a lot less of that kind of stuff going on. And, you know, so I think there might be some cigarette smoking in this film, but I feel like you would have seen a hell of a lot more of it if that wasn't sort of like happening, because it's just right for it. It's like the perfect film for that kind of thing. But all right, I think that's awesome. I think I'm so happy that we fully agree on this film. Like, I don't think, I think that's amazing. So, folks out there, if you haven't seen Identity, please go watch it. It's amazing. You're gonna love it if you love neo-noir. You're gonna love it if you like slasher films. You're gonna love it if you like serial killer films. You're gonna love it if you like John Cusack or Amanda Peet or Ray Liotta, or like, you know, I love everybody in this film. Pruitt Taylor Vance is just he's great. I really wish that he got more heat on him, you know. But just check this film out. It's just fantastic. And tell us what you think. We would love to hear what you guys think about it. Stick around for, I don't know, the next episode of Speakeasy Noircast, I guess. All right, guys. Enjoy your serial killer.
Bye-bye.
He's looking at you, kid.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Speakeasy Noircast. Make sure to visit our website, resurrectionfilms.net, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Stitcher, or any of your favorite podcast apps so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes, or if you'd simply tell a friend about the show, that would help us out too. If you like the show, you might want to check out our book, The Dark Side of Acting Up and The Dark Side of Acting Up Volume 2, now available on Amazon. Or you can check out one of our films, also